Welcome to our channel, your gateway to the most spine-chilling tales and unnerving true stories. Today, we present a true story, The Whispers of the Phantom Tunnel. In the early 1900s, a group of railway engineers embarked on a daring project to construct a railway line through a treacherous mountain pass. As they toiled away, a series of tragic accidents plagued their progress. The most notorious incident involved a train that derailed, plunging into a ravine, claiming the lives of all on board. Years later, a team of investigators ventured into the abandoned railway tunnel to uncover the truth. Eleanor Vance arrived at the railway construction site, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. The treacherous mountain pass loomed above, its jagged peak shrouded in mist. As she stepped off the carriage, the heavy sound of her boots hitting the ground echoed through the silence, as if disturbing some dormant presence. Teddy Johnson, a fearless adventurer with a mischievous grin, appeared from behind a stack of crates. "Eleanor, you made it," he exclaimed, his voice carrying an air of enthusiasm that contrasted sharply with her own apprehension. Dr. Thomas Sullivan, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair and glasses perched on his nose, nodded in greeting. "Good to see you, Eleanor," he said, his tone calm and reassuring. "I hope you're ready for what lies ahead." Eleanor, with pale complexion and tired, anxious eyes, forced a smile. As an introverted and sensitive woman, she had always preferred the safety of books to the unpredictability of real life. But something about this project had intrigued her, drawn her out into the world of adventure and danger. "I must admit, I'm both nervous and excited," Eleanor confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "The legends surrounding this pass, the tragic accidents, they've captured my imagination." Teddy chuckled, his tousled blonde hair catching a glint of sunlight. "Don't worry, Eleanor, we'll be there every step of the way. And with Dr. Sullivan's knowledge and expertise, we'll uncover the truth behind these hauntings." Dr. Sullivan nodded in agreement. "Indeed, we must approach this project with open minds and rational thinking. There may be logical explanations for what has occurred here." As they walked towards the construction site together, Eleanor couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that clung to her like a dark cloud. She wondered if this journey would finally bring her the excitement and purpose she longed for, or if it would only deepen her haunting fears. Little did she know that their arrival would mark the beginning of a nightmare none of them could have predicted. The mountain pass held secrets that would test their courage and unravel their deepest fears. The sun beat down mercilessly on the construction site as the workers tirelessly hammered away at the tracks. Sweat dripped from their brows, mingling with the dirt and grime that coated their bodies. The air was heavy with an uneasy tension, as if a dark presence lingered just beyond their peripheral vision. Eleanor watched from a safe distance, her hands trembling as she clutched her notebook. Eerie figures seemed to materialize in the shadows, their forms flickering like phantoms before disappearing into thin air. She blinked, questioning her own sanity, as she caught glimpses of pale faces and wispy shapes out of the corner of her eye. Teddy approached Eleanor, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. His mischievous grin had faded, replaced by a furrowed brow and a somber expression. Concern etched lines into his face as he observed the strange occurrences around them. "I've been noticing these figures too," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They seem to come and go, like they're playing games with us." Eleanor nodded, her eyes darting nervously from one shadowy corner to another. "I've seen them too," she confessed, her voice quivering with anxiety. "But they vanish so quickly, as if they're aware of our presence." Dr. Sullivan joined them, his analytical gaze surveying the scene before him. "It's possible that our minds are playing tricks on us," he suggested, although doubt lingered in his voice. "The human mind is prone to perceiving patterns and making connections where none may exist." "But what about the tools and machinery?" Teddy questioned, his frustration evident in his tone. "They've been malfunctioning inexplicably. It's not just our imaginations at play here." As if on cue, a worker's drill sparked and sputtered before abruptly shutting off. Swearing under his breath, the worker glanced nervously at his colleagues before shrugging it off as bad luck. Eleanor's heart raced, her senses heightened by the mounting tension. There was something undeniably sinister about this place, something beyond logical explanation. She could feel it in her bones, a chilling certainty that they were being watched by unseen eyes. The whispers of spectral voices seemed to grow louder in Eleanor's ears as she gazed into the darkness surrounding them. They carried an otherworldly quality, filled with sorrow and despair. She shivered, goosebumps prickling her arms, despite the sweltering heat. Unbeknownst to Eleanor and the others, their arrival had awakened dormant spirits that haunted this cursed mountain pass. As they continued their work, oblivious to the malevolence lurking in the shadows, their journey into darkness would only grow more treacherous. Little did they know that tragedy awaited them in the depths of this haunted place, ready to claim its next victim. Eleanor stood frozen in horror, her eyes fixed on the lifeless body of the fallen worker. The deafening silence that followed the accident seemed to reverberate in her ears, filling her mind with a cacophony of guilt and despair. Her past traumas resurfaced, intertwining with the present tragedy, suffocating her with an overwhelming sense of dread. Teddy approached Eleanor, his blue eyes filled with concern. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. She blinked away tears, forcing herself to compose. I'm fine," she managed to reply, her voice trembling with unshed emotions. Deep down, she knew she was anything but fine. The incident had awakened her own fears, feeding into her insecurities and sense of helplessness. Dr. Sullivan joined them, his analytical gaze fixated on the scene before him. "This cannot be mere coincidence," he stated firmly, his voice laced with urgency. "There is something at work here, something beyond our understanding." Eleanor looked at him skeptically, her grip on her notebook tightening. While a part of her wanted to believe in something supernatural, a rational voice within her fought against it. She had spent most of her life trying to suppress her sensitivity and immerse herself in logic and reason. But as she watched the other workers exchange worried glances and heard murmurs of curses and curses whispered through the air, Eleanor couldn't deny the mounting evidence of a haunting presence. The accident felt like a cruel warning, a chilling reminder that their lives were hanging by a thread. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden commotion among the workers, pointing towards a shadowy figure in the distance. They muttered in hushed tones, their gazes filled with equal parts fear and fascination. Curiosity overcame Eleanor's own fear as she turned her attention to the figure. It stood tall and imposing, its form cloaked in darkness. A flicker of movement caught her eye as it vanished into thin air, leaving behind an eerie stillness in its wake. "What was that?" she whispered to Teddy, her voice barely audible. He shook his head in disbelief. "I don't know, Eleanor," he admitted, his usual confidence replaced by unease. "But whatever it is, we need to find out." As Eleanor glanced back at the fallen worker one last time, a newfound determination grew within her. She would uncover the truth behind these hauntings and face her own inner demons along the way. The haunted mountain pass held answers that could change their lives forever, and she was determined to find them. Little did she know that their journey into darkness was just beginning, with each step leading them closer to unimaginable horrors lurking within the depths of the abandoned tunnel. As they ventured further into the treacherous realm of spirits and shadows, they would soon learn that not all tragedies can be explained by logic alone. The flickering candlelight cast an eerie glow across the faces gathered around the table. Eleanor Vance's pale complexion seemed to blend with the dim light, her tired, anxious eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and apprehension. Teddy Johnson's tousled blonde hair caught glimmers of illumination, his mischievous grin replaced by a serious expression. Dr. Thomas Sullivan's glasses perched on his nose as he surveyed the map, his analytical gaze betraying his skepticism. Grace Miller's bright eyes reflected wisdom beyond her years, her intuitive nature radiating from beneath her flowing bohemian attire. They huddled together, their voices hushed as they debated their approach. The abandoned railway tunnel loomed before them, a dark void filled with unknown terrors. The air was heavy with the scent of dampness and decay, adding a touch of mustiness to their anxious atmosphere. "We must proceed with caution," Eleanor cautioned, her voice barely above a whisper. Her introverted nature urged her to err on the side of safety, to carefully consider each step they would take. "We don't know what we may encounter inside." Teddy leaned back in his chair, his athletic build exuding confidence. "Come on, Eleanor. We didn't come here for caution," he countered, his voice filled with a hint of impatience. "We came here for adventure, to unravel the mysteries that await us." Dr. Sullivan interjected, his rational mind prevailing over emotion. "It's important to strike a balance," he stated firmly, adjusting his glasses. "We must be prepared for the unknown, but also open to unexpected discoveries." Grace listened intently, her instincts guiding her response. "I agree with Dr. Sullivan," she said softly, her voice carrying an air of wisdom. "Our intention is not to rush blindly into danger, but to approach this investigation thoughtfully, guided by our intuition." Eleanor glanced at each face surrounding the table, their varied perspectives offering a spectrum of opinions. It was then that she realized the strength of their team, their ability to complement one another and overcome the challenges that lay ahead. With newfound determination, Eleanor leaned forward, her keen observation skills leading her to propose a plan. "Let's divide our roles based on our strengths," she suggested, her voice gaining conviction. "Teddy, your fearlessness will be invaluable in scouting ahead. Dr. Sullivan, your research skills can help guide us through historical records. And Grace, your intuitive connections may allow us to communicate with any spirits present." Teddy grinned with enthusiasm, while Dr. Sullivan nodded in agreement. Grace offered Eleanor an encouraging smile, their shared understanding bridging any remaining doubts. As they prepared to embark on their exploration of the abandoned tunnel, Eleanor felt a surge of both fear and excitement. The next steps were uncertain, but together they would navigate the darkness and unravel the haunting secrets that awaited them deep within the abyss. Their disparate strengths would converge in a harmonious symphony of determination and curiosity, ensuring that no matter what horrors lie ahead, they would face them together. The air inside the abandoned railway tunnel was heavy with dampness and decay. As Eleanor, Teddy, Dr. Sullivan, and Grace made their way deeper into the darkness, their cautious footsteps echoed through the empty space. Dim light from their flashlights cast long shadows on the decaying walls, revealing glimpses of rusted tracks disappearing into the black void ahead. Eleanor's pale complexion seemed to blend with the dim light, her tired eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. Her sensitive nature made her acutely aware of the weight of the past that lingered in this forsaken place. Each step felt like a deliberate act of defiance against the unknown horrors that awaited them. Teddy's tall, athletic build exuded an air of fearlessness as he led the way. His tousled blonde hair caught glimmers of illumination, his mischievous grin replaced by a focused determination. He moved with agility, every muscle poised for action, ready to confront whatever obstacles lay in their path. Dr. Sullivan's analytical gaze surveyed the tunnel's damp walls, his glasses reflecting the faint light like small beacons of rationality in a sea of darkness. By his side, Grace Miller emanated a calming energy as she navigated the treacherous terrain with ease. Her short curly hair bounced with each step, her bright eyes scanning for any spiritual presence that might reveal itself. As they ventured further into the abyss, unsettling sounds seemed to seep from every nook and cranny. Whispers carried on unseen drafts, distant moans echoing through the dank air, and faint cries that sent shivers down their spines. The tunnel seemed to come alive with a chorus of long-forgotten voices, each one carrying a message from beyond. Eleanor's heart raced with each eerie sound, her senses heightened by the mounting tension. Her empathetic nature allowed her to feel the anguish and despair embedded in these ghostly echoes. She wondered about the tragic stories that unfolded within these haunted walls and what secrets they held. Teddy's steps faltered for a moment as he stumbled upon a pile of crumbling debris blocking their path. He cursed under his breath, frustration etching lines into his face. With determined resolve, he reached for his flashlight, illuminating the obstacle before them. It was a stark reminder that this journey was not without its challenges, physical and metaphorical barriers they had to overcome. Dr. Sullivan studied the decaying walls intently, his logical mind searching for patterns and clues amidst the chaos. His deep knowledge of historical events guided his thoughts as he tried to piece together the true story hidden within these deteriorating structures. Grace's intuition led her forward, her spiritual connection reaching out for any lingering presence trapped within these spectral confines. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to be guided by unseen forces, spirits longing for peace and closure. With each passing step, the team ventured further into the depths of darkness, inching closer to both answers and dangers yet to be revealed. The haunting whispers surrounded them, creating an oppressive atmosphere that tested their resolve and mental fortitude. Little did they know what awaited them in the heart of this forsaken tunnel, secrets that would force them to face their deepest fears and unearth ancient evils that defied all rational explanations. Darkness enveloped Eleanor and her companions as their flashlights flickered out one by one. Panic knotted in her stomach, fear clutching at her heart like icy fingers. She strained her ears to catch any sound that might betray the presence of lurking danger. The silence was broken by a hollow groan echoing through the pitch-black tunnel. It seemed to reverberate off the walls, growing louder with each passing moment. Eleanor's heart pounded in her chest, her instincts urging her to retreat. But she knew that they had no choice but to push forward. Dr. Sullivan's voice cut through the darkness, his usually calm tone laced with urgency. "Keep moving. We cannot let fear paralyze us." Eleanor stumbled over debris littering the ground, her hands grazing against rough surfaces as she desperately searched for an exit. The air grew colder, chilling her down to the bone, as if an unseen force reveled in their vulnerability. Grace spoke softly, her voice cutting through the silence like a beacon of hope. "Remember why we're here," she reminded them, her words seeping into their consciousness. "We have a purpose: to uncover the truth and bring peace to the restless spirits trapped within these walls." Teddy's footsteps wavered beside Eleanor, his bravado fading under the weight of the unknown. She could sense his fear, his unease mirrored in her own racing thoughts. But he pressed on, refusing to let doubt consume him entirely. As they continued deeper into the abyss, Eleanor's keen observation skills kicked into high gear. She began to notice subtle changes in the atmosphere, a scent of damp earth mingling with an acrid tang of decay, an inexplicable drop in temperature, making her shiver uncontrollably. A dim light flickered in the distance, drawing their attention like moths to a flame. They cautiously approached it, their trepidation mingled with a glimmer of hope that salvation awaited them. The light revealed a narrow passageway leading to a hidden chamber, its walls covered in ancient markings. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat as she deciphered fragments of a forgotten language etched into the stone. Each stroke seemed to tell a tale of agony and despair, creating an eerie tapestry of sorrow. Suddenly, a low moan echoed through the chamber, a sound that seemed both human and otherworldly. Eleanor's heart skipped a beat as she turned towards the source, her eyes widening in terror. Before them stood a figure cloaked in darkness, its features obscured by shadows. Its malevolent presence hung heavy in the air, suffocating their senses with an overwhelming aura of evil. Fear gripped Eleanor's chest as she realized they had stumbled upon something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. The haunting secrets of the railway tunnel were about to reveal themselves in ways they were ill-prepared to face. Eleanor and Teddy stood at opposite ends of the room, their eyes ablaze with conflicting emotions. The air crackled with tension as their heated debate filled the space, each word a weapon in their battle of perspectives. "I tell you, Eleanor, there's something unnatural about this haunting," Teddy exclaimed, his voice laced with frustration. "I've seen things that defy any rational explanation. We can't just brush them aside." Eleanor shot back, her voice tinged with anxious defiance. "But Teddy, we must consider all possibilities. We can't jump to conclusions based on fear and superstition. There has to be a logical explanation for what we've experienced." Dr. Sullivan's presence loomed between them like a beacon of calm reason. He raised a hand in an attempt to mediate their discussion, his gaze flickering between the determined duo. "Let us not forget the purpose of our investigation," he reminded them, his voice even and composed. "We seek to uncover the truth, But we cannot let personal fears cloud our judgment. We must approach this with skepticism, but also an open mind. Grace, ever attuned to the spiritual realm, interjected softly but firmly, her words carrying an air of wisdom beyond her years. "Perhaps both of your perspectives hold some truth," she suggested, her presence commanding attention. The paranormal world often defies easy categorization. It may be that we are witnessing phenomena that bridge logic and the supernatural. Eleanor glanced at Grace, a spark of recognition flickering in her eyes. She had always admired Grace's ability to embrace the unknown, to navigate the blurred lines between science and spirituality. It was a quality Eleanor hoped to cultivate within herself. Teddy's shoulder slumped as he considered Grace's words. His impulsive nature momentarily reined in by her sage advice. He sighed deeply, the weight of their impending choices pressing upon him. "We need solid evidence," he admitted begrudgingly, his voice softer now, more contemplative than confrontational. "If we're going to convince others of the haunting's reality, we must approach it with rigorous scrutiny." Eleanor nodded in agreement, relief washing over her as a sense of unity began to take hold amongst the group. They may have disagreed on the nature of the haunting, but they shared a common goal: to uncover the truth and bring peace to the restless spirits trapped within the railway tunnel. As they exchanged glances filled with newfound understanding, they realized that their journey ahead would require collaboration and an openness to possibilities beyond their current comprehension. Little did they know that their exploration of the supernatural would push them closer to the edge of reason and challenge their own belief systems in ways they never thought possible. The abandoned tunnel stretched out before them like a gaping maw, its walls bearing the scars of time and neglect. Eleanor could sense the weight of history within its confines, an invisible presence that whispered secrets and echoed with lost souls. As the team ventured further into the darkness, a chill crept through their bones, chilling them to the core. Their flashlights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the decaying walls. Teddy's fearless facade wavered, his eyes darting nervously between the shifting shapes. Eleanor's keen observation skills kicked into overdrive, her senses heightened by the oppressive atmosphere. She could almost taste the mustiness of forgotten memories that clung to the air, mingling with the scent of damp earth. Her empathetic nature allowed her to feel the anguish woven into the very fabric of this forsaken place. Dr. Sullivan's analytical mind soaked up every detail as he studied the remnants of the railway tracks that disappeared into the darkness. His fingers traced the rusty metal, capturing fragments of history etched into their grooves. Each inch brought him closer to unraveling the truth buried deep within these tunnels. Grace's spiritual connection hummed with energy, guiding her steps along the treacherous terrain. She closed her eyes for a moment, attuning herself to the whispers that seemed to emanate from all directions. The spirits longed for acknowledgement, yearning to share their stories and find peace in their final rest. With each step, the characters grew more enmeshed in the surreal ambience of the tunnel's depths. Shadows danced on the walls, morphing into grotesque shapes that seemed to leer at them from just beyond their peripheral vision. The air crackled with unseen energy, electric and foreboding. A soft breeze whispered through the narrow passageway, carrying with it a symphony of haunting voices. Eleanor strained her ears to catch snippets of conversations that blended with each other in a discordant harmony. They carried echoes of longing, pain, and unfinished business, stories etched in time waiting to be unearthed. Dr. Sullivan's eyes widened as he noticed symbols etched onto the walls, cryptic messages left behind by those who had met tragic fates within these haunted confines. His logical mind pieced together fragments of meaning, while his skepticism battled against the evidence mounting before him. Suddenly, a distant moan echoed through the chamber, causing their hearts to skip a beat. The sound seemed both ethereal and tangible, as if it were both within their minds and echoing off these ancient walls. It sent shivers down their spines, reminding them of the very real presence lurking within. Eleanor felt a mixture of fascination and fear surge through her veins as she pressed on, her grip on her notebook tightening. This was what she had come for, to delve into the heart of mystery and uncover truths that both challenged and enlightened. The haunted whispers grew louder, pulling her deeper into their ethereal embrace. They were evolving in this dark dance with destiny. Characters bound by their shared purpose, but tested individually by their own strengths and vulnerabilities. As they moved further into the abyss, they would come face to face with spectral forces they could barely comprehend. Eleanor's heart pounded in her chest as she faced the vengeful spirit that materialized before them. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, filled with anger and unspoken curses. The oppressive air crackled with energy, as if the very essence of malevolence surrounded them. Teddy's usually mischievous grin was replaced by a look of determination. He braced himself for the fight ahead, his fists clenched at his sides. But fear flickered in his eyes, a reminder that even the most fearless of adventurers struggled against the grip of the supernatural. Dr. Sullivan's analytical gaze studied their foe, searching for any weakness or pattern that could aid in banishing the spirit. His mind raced through a catalogue of rituals and remedies, while his skepticism balanced on a thin line between doubt and belief. Grace's intuition guided her actions as she reached out to the spiritual realm, drawing upon her inner strength and connection to transcendental forces. Her hands trembled as she channeled energy to protect her comrades and confront the vengeful spirit head-on. Eleanor's empathetic nature resonated with the sorrow and pain radiating from the ghostly figure. She understood its desire for retribution, its longing for closure. As her pale complexion paled further under the weight of their encounter, she sought a peaceful resolution amidst the turmoil. The ensuing confrontation was a fierce battle of wills and supernatural abilities. Eleanor's creative thinking and keen observation skills allowed her to exploit openings in the spirit's defenses, distracting it and creating moments of vulnerability. Teddy's physical strength and agility allowed him to evade its attacks and strike back with focused determination. Dr. Sullivan employed his logical reasoning to study the spirit's patterns and determine its weaknesses. He devised a strategy that relied on precision and timing, leveraging his deep understanding of supernatural lore and rituals to weaken their foe. Grace drew upon her psychic abilities, channeling her healing energy to calm the spirit's rage and bring forth forgiveness and understanding. Her voice carried ancient incantations that resonated with both spectral and earthly realms, bridging gaps between life and death.